John. I'm at the Rock of Southwest in Littleton, Colorado, and I also keep YM Theology up to date. So hopefully this video post will help you, and make sure you check out our free section and keep up. Sign up for the email newsletter. That's absolutely free, and we keep you up to date, new blog posts, video posts, things like that. Anyways, hey, today's topic is this: is youth ministry even theologically or biblically correct? Should we be doing youth ministry? I think the answer is real simple. Yeah, of course we should. But why? Over the years, a lot of people have talked about whether youth ministry is something we should be doing. And I think it's fine to have that discussion, but I think it's a pretty quick answer. If you think about it, God has used students or young people throughout history to do all kinds of crazy things. I mean, Joash became king when he was 7, Josiah when he was 8. God used both of them to do some great things. David started his ministry. God began to use him in great ways when he was a teenager, and so on and so on and so on. We even go to the New Testament. We have Timothy, who was young. How young? I don't know, but he was young. Many of the disciples may have been teenagers or at least early 20s. And so young people have been used throughout history. There's no doubt we should be ministering to people of all ages. Why not youth? How we do youth ministry is a completely different question. The first thing I want to recognize is this: that we should be doing youth ministry in a way that empowers parents to be the primary disciple makers of their own students. If you go back all the way back to Deuteronomy, chapter 6 and chapter 11, and you read that, and God talks to the Israelites about putting His word on their mind all the time, day and night, so that they would know it and understand it. Parents need to be the primary disciple makers, and there's no better way for us to express to them the importance of ministering to their students than doing it ourselves. But we need to do it in a way that empowers them to be the primary disciple makers. I want to challenge many of you. When I was young in ministry, I've been doing youth ministry in some way for about 15 years, so I've been around the block a couple of times. And one of the things I've learned is that I am not these kids' savior. I am not the person who is probably going to determine whether they accept Christ or not in many cases. Hopefully in some, I can be a part of that process. Here's what I know: that most of the time, students turn out well because their parents have trusted Christ with their own lives and helped their students understand the value of following Jesus. And so now when I do ministry, I constantly think about, how can I empower parents? How can I equip them? How can I encourage them to do what's right for their own students? I'm really excited about our upcoming parents meeting. We do one about once every quarter. And we're going to actually take parents and help them develop what I call in ministry a DDP, or a description of a disciple person. What are the 5 to 7 things that you want for your student when they leave your home? What do you want them to know? What do you want them to be able to do? What do you want them to understand? And then write those down, and then work backwards. And how do we create an environment now at home where those things can be reached? Setting goals for your students, not whether they're a good athlete or what kind of grades they get in school. Those are fine goals in an appropriate way. But spiritually, what do we want them to know and to understand? Youth ministry is so important, and so we try to bring youth ministry out of our program context on Tuesday nights and out of our program context in our small groups. And we try to help parents be the ones who think about how they can minister to their own students. And I'm really excited about that coming up in January. I encourage you to think about that, and I'll make that available on YM Theology as we put that together. And as a matter of fact, you can already go on the free page and you can download a DDP from a ministry perspective, not from a parenting perspective. But we're actually going to work through one of those for our kids, our 4-year-old boy and our 10-year-old daughter, who will be 11 by the time the parents' meeting rolls around. And we're going to actually work through that. What do we want them to know? What do we want them to understand? What do we want? What kind of skills do we want them to have in a spiritual level? And then we're going to work backwards. How do we create an environment at our home to accomplish some of those things? I think we've done that somewhat intuitively at home, But I've been more intentional in ministry, and it was a parent who I was having that conversation who was a volunteer youth worker at another church up in Wyoming, and she actually said, "Hey, that would be great for parents," and I went, "Of course it would." And so I want to give a shout out to her, but I want you to encourage you to think about how can you equip your parents to be the primary disciple makers of their students' lives, and maybe doing ministry in your church context in a way that supports them, encourages them, and gives them the tools necessary to be godly parents. Now, some students won't have parents that go to church. I understand that. We need to fill the gaps the best we can. Some students will have parents that no matter what we tell them, no matter how we equip them, will just never be godly parents. I understand that too. Again, we need to fill the gaps. But for the parents who want to be great parents, who want to be lovers of Jesus themselves and help their students become lovers of Jesus, how are we equipping them and helping them to become that kind of parent? Hey, we'll see you next time on YM Theology.